StarCraft is a military science fiction media franchise created by Chris Metzen and James Finney, and owned by Blizzard Entertainment. The series centers on a galactic struggle for dominance between four species: the adaptable and mobile Terrans, the ever-evolving insectoid Zerg, the powerfully enigmatic Protoss, and the godlike Exel-Naga creator race in a distant part of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Koprulu sector at the beginning of the 26th century. The series debuted with the video game StarCraft in 1998. Since then it has grown to include a number of other games as well as 8 novelizations, 2 Amazing Stories articles, a board game, and other licensed merchandise such as collectible statues and toys. Blizzard Entertainment began planning StarCraft in 1995, with the development team led by Metzen and Finney. The game debuted at E3 1996, and used a modified Warcraft 2 game engine. StarCraft also marked the creation of Blizzard Entertainment's film department. The game introduced high-quality cinematics integral to the storyline of the series. Most of the original development team for StarCraft returned to work on the game's official expansion pack, Brood War. The game's development began shortly after StarCraft was released. In 2001, StarCraft Ghost began development under Nihilistic Software. Unlike the previous real-time strategy games in the series, Ghost was to be a stealth action game. After 3 years of development, work on the game was postponed in 2004. Development of StarCraft II: Wings of Liberty began in 2003. The game was later announced on May 19, 2007 and was released on July 27, 2010. The StarCraft II franchise continued with the StarCraft II, part of the Swarm expansion, which was released on March 12, 2013. The third StarCraft II installment is titled StarCraft II: Legacy of the Void, released on November 10, 2015. The original game and its official expansion have been praised as one of the benchmark real-time strategy games of its time. The series has gathered a solid following around the world, particularly in South Korea, where professional players and teams participate in matches, earn sponsorships, and compete in televised matches. As of May 31, 2007, StarCraft and Brood War have sold almost 10 million copies combined. In addition, the series was awarded a star on the Walk of Fame in 2006, and holds 4 Guinness World Records in the Guinness World Records Gamers edition of 2008. Story. The story focuses on the activities of the 3 species in a part of the Milky Way known as the Koprulu sector. Millennia before any of the events of the games, a species known as the Exel-Naga genetically engineered the Protoss and later the Zerg in attempts to create pure beings. These experiments backfire and the Exel-Naga are largely destroyed by the Zerg. Centuries before the beginning of StarCraft in 2499, the hardline International Government of Earth, the United Earth Directorate, commissions a colonization program as part of a solution to overpopulation. However, the computers automating the colony ships malfunction, propelling the Terran colonists far off course to the edge of Protoss space. Out of contact with Earth, they form various factions to maintain their interests. Intrigued by the behavior and mentality of the Terrans, the Protoss remain hidden to examine the humans, while protecting them from other threats without the knowledge. However, the Zerg target the Terrans for assimilation to harness the psionic potential, forcing the Protoss to destroy tainted Terran colonies to contain the Zerg infestation. StarCraft begins just days after the first of these attacks, where the predominant Terran government, the Confederacy of Man, falls into a state of panic as it comes under attack by both the Zerg and the Protoss. In addition to increasing rebel activity led by Arturismensk against its rule, The Confederacy eventually succumbs to Mengsk's rebels when they use Confederate technology to lure the Zerg into attacking the Confederate capital, Tarsonis. In the consequent power vacuum, Mensk crowns himself emperor of a new Terran dominion. However, during the assault on Tarsonis, Mensk allows the Zerg to capture and infest his psychic second-in-command, Sarah Kerrigan. This betrayal prompts Mengsk's other commander, Jim Raynor, to desert him with a small army. Having retreated with Kerrigan to the primary hive clusters, the Zerg are assaulted by Protoss forces commanded by Tassadar and the Dark Templar Zeratul. Through assassinating a Zerg cerebrate, Zeratul inadvertently allows the Overmind to learn the location of the Protoss homeworld, AIUR. The Overmind quickly launches an invasion to assimilate the Protoss and gain genetic perfection, pursued by his own people as a heretic for siding with the Dark Templar. Tassadar returns with Zeratul to AIUR and with the assistance of Raynor and the Templar Phoenix, Tassadar launches an attack on the Overmind and ultimately sacrifices himself to kill the creature. In Brood War, the Protoss are now led by Zeratul and Artanis. They begin to evacuate the surviving population of AIUR to the Dark Templar homeworld of Shakuras under a fragile alliance between the two untrusting branches of the Protoss. On Shakuras, they are misled by Kerrigan into attacking the Zerg to advance Kerrigan's quest to securing power over the Zerg. This deception comes after she reveals that a new Overmind has entered incubation. Meanwhile, Earth decides to take action in the sector, sending a fleet to conquer the Terran Dominion and capture the new Overmind. Although successfully taking the Dominion capital Korhal and enslaving the Overmind, the UED's efforts to capture Mensk are thwarted by a double agent working for Kerrigan, Samir Duran. Kerrigan, allying with Mensk, Phoenix and Raynor, launches a campaign against the UED, recapturing Korhal. However, she turns against her allies. Phoenix and Duke both perish in the ensuing attacks. Kerrigan later blackmails Zeratul into killing the new Overmind, giving her full control over the entire Zerg swarm. After defeating a retaliatory attack by the Protoss Dominion and the UED, consequently destroying the last of the UED fleet, Kerrigan and her Zerg broods become the dominant power in the sector. 4 years later, in Wings of Liberty, Kerrigan and a Zerg suddenly vanish from the Koprulu sector, allowing the Protoss to once again take on a passive role in the galaxy. Meanwhile, Raynor forms a revolutionary group named Raynor's Raiders in order to overthrow Mensk. On Marsara, Raynor liberates the local population from Dominion control and also discovers a component of a mysterious Exilnaga artifact. The Zerg suddenly reappear and overrun Marsara, forcing Raynor to arrange an evacuation to his battlecruiser, the Hyperion. The Raiders embark on a series of missions to undermine Mensk, stop frequent Zerg infestations on Terran worlds, gather psychic individuals for military assets, and find the remaining pieces of the Exilnaga artifact, which they sell to the enigmatic Mobius Foundation in order to fund the revolution. Soon after, Zeratul delivers a psychic crystal that allows Raynor to share visions involving an ominous prophecy where Zerg Protoss hybrids and an enslaved Zerg swarm wipe out the Terrans and the Protoss. The vision reveals that only Kerrigan has the power to prevent the eradication of all life in the sector and beyond. After collecting more artifact pieces, the Raiders forge an alliance with Valerian Mensk, Arcturus's son, who is the secret benefactor from Mobius Foundation. After recovering the final artifact piece, Valerian and Raynor work together to invade the Zerg world of Char and use the artifact to restore Kerrigan's humanity, thus weakening the Zerg at the cost of much of the Dominion fleet. However, an agent of Arcturus makes an attempt on Kerrigan's life, and Rayna defends her and takes her in for medical examination. In Heart of the Swarm, the Dominion discovers where Rayna and Kerrigan are hiding and launch an attack on them. Kerrigan manages to escape, but is cut off from Rayna, and upon hearing news that he was captured and executed, she returns to Zerg territory to retake control of the swarm and enact revenge on Mence. During her quest, she has an encounter with Zeratul, who advises her to travel to Xeris, the original home world of the Zerg, where she not only regains her powers as the Queen of Blades, returning stronger than ever, but also learns that a fallen Exilnaga named Aemon was responsible for making the Zerg what they are, a warring swarm, bound to a single overriding will. After confronting a legion of servants of Aemon, including a breed of Protoss Zerg hybrids, Mence informs Kerrigan that Rayna is still alive and uses him as a leverage against her, keeping the location where he is imprisoned a secret, until she joins forces with the Hyperion to locate and rescue him. However, seeing that she discarded her humanity after all the effort he took to restore it, Rayna rejects her, despite her confession that she loves him, and part ways with her. Kerrigan then turns her attention to Korhal and sends her forces to bring down Mence once and for all. However, during the showdown, Mence uses the artifact to immobilize her, but Rayna appears to protect her, and Mence is ultimately killed by Kerrigan. With the Dominion under control of Mengske's son Valerian, Kerrigan bids farewell to Rayna and departs with the Zerg swarm to confront Aemon and his forces. In Legacy of the Void, Zeratul invades a Terran installation under control of Aemon in order to pinpoint the exact location of his resurrection, taking advantage of a sudden attack by Kerrigan and the Zerg swarm. After obtaining the exact location, he departs to an ancient Exilnaga temple where he has a vision of Tassadar, who prompts him to claim the artifact in possession of the Terrans. Zeratul then returns to warn Artanis of Amon's return, but he decides to proceed with his plans of leading his army to reclaim Aur. However, Aemon awakens on Aur and takes control of the majority of the Protoss race through the Kala, the telepathic bond that unites all emotions for the Kali faction of the Protoss. Only Zeratul and the Nerazim, the Dark Templar, are immune due to the lack of connection to the Kala, and the Nerazim proceed to save as many Kali as they can by severing the nerve cords which connect them to the Kala, with Zeratul sacrificing himself to save Artanis in the occasion. After escaping the planet with an ancient vessel, the Spear of Adun, Artanis reclaims the artifact as Zeratul suggested and gathers allies among the many Protoss tribes scattered across the galaxy in order to remake his army and launch another assault on Aur. Using the artifact, Artanis' forces restrain Amon's essence, time enough for the other Kali Protoss who were still under his control to sever the nerve cords and banish Aemon to the Void. In a short epilogue after the end of Legacy of the Void, Kerrigan calls for Artanis and Rayna's help to confront Aemon inside the Void to defeat him once and for all. In the occasion, they meet Urus, the last of the Exilnaga, who reveals that to confront Aemon on equal terms, Kerrigan must inherit Urus' essence and become a Exilnaga herself, as Urus himself is at the last of his strengths. Assisted by the Zerg, Terran and Protoss forces, the empowered Kerrigan vanquishes Aemon, before disappearing without a trace. 2 years later, Kerrigan appears before Rayna in human form and he departs with her to never be heard from again, while the Zerg, the Terran and the Protoss civilizations begin to rebuild in an age of peace and prosperity. Games. The StarCraft series includes a core set of titles which carry the main storyline. These games were released in chronological order, with each new title following on from the events that are depicted in the previous title. A full second game, StarCraft II: Wings of Liberty, was released on July 27, 2010, taking place 4 years after the end of Brood War. 2 expansions, Heart of the Swarm and Legacy of the Void, were planned from the beginning. The former was released on March 12, 2013. All the games in the main series are real-time strategy games, where the player views the events as a military commander for each of the 3 species. In addition, 2 spin-off titles have been released. These are authorized expansion packs to the original which focus on other characters and settings based at the same time as the main storyline. Like the main series, these 2 titles are also real-time strategy games. A spin-off, StarCraft: Ghost, which was to be a third-person action stealth game, was in development, but has been placed on indefinite hiatus. StarCraft, released for Windows on March 31, 1998, is the first video game in the StarCraft series, a science fiction real-time strategy game. StarCraft is set in a distant sector of the Milky Way galaxy. A macOS version of the game was released by Blizzard Entertainment in March 1999. A Nintendo 64 port including StarCraft, Brood War and a new secret mission, Resurrection IV, was released in the United States on June 13, 2000. The game's story revolves around the appearance of 2 alien races in Terran space, and each race's attempts to survive and adapt over the others. The player assumes 3 roles through the course of the 3 campaigns: a Confederate colonial governor who becomes a revolutionary commander, a Zerg cerebrate pushing forward the species' doctrine of assimilation, and a Protoss fleet executor tasked with defending the Protoss from the Zerg. StarCraft soon gained critical acclaim, winning numerous awards, including being labeled the best real-time strategy game ever made, and being ranked the 7th best game of all time by IGN in both 2003 and 2005, and the 11th best game in 2007. StarCraft: Brood War is the official expansion pack for StarCraft, developed by Blizzard Entertainment and Sapphire, released for Windows and Mac OS in the United States on November 30, 1998. The expansion directly continues the events of StarCraft. The expansion's story continues only days after the conclusion of the original game. It starts with the Protoss struggle to ensure the survival of the species and continues with the intervention of the United Earth Directorate into local Terran affairs. The livelihood of both the Protoss and a previously silent Earth government is then threatened by the ever-increasing power of Sarah Kerrigan and her Zerg broods. In addition, the expansion introduces new features and improvements. A total of 7 new units with different functions and abilities are included. The artificial intelligence behavior was modified. New graphical tile sets for terrain were added and the game's level editor received improved scripting tools to facilitate cutscenes with the in-game engine. The expansion received critical praise for fixing various balance issues with the original game, development attention on par with that of a full game, and for continuing with single-player campaigns that were heavily story-driven. StarCraft II: Wings of Liberty is the official sequel to StarCraft, released for Windows and Mac OS X by Blizzard Entertainment on July 27, 2010. The game was announced at the Worldwide Invitational in South Korea on May 19, 2007 with a pre-rendered cinematic cutscene trailer and a gameplay demonstration of the Protoss. Further demonstrations regarding the game's new features have been showcased at subsequent BlizzCons and other games conventions. The game incorporates a new 3D graphics engine and adds new features such as the Havoc physics physics engine. StarCraft 2 also incorporates DirectX 10 level effects in Windows. Originally envisioned as a single game, StarCraft 2 was split into 3 parts during development, one for focusing on each race. The base game, Wings of Liberty, follows the Terrans, while 2 expansion packs, Heart of the Swarm and Legacy of the Void, are to be released to complement Wings of Liberty after release and further the story from the views of the Zerg and Protoss, respectively. The story of Wings of Liberty continues from 4 years after the conclusion of Brood War, and revolves around Jim Raynor's struggles against the Terran Dominion. StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm is an expansion pack to StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty and was released on March 12, 2013. It is part 2 of the StarCraft 2 trilogy. The expansion includes additional units and multiplayer changes from Wings of Liberty, as well as a continuing campaign focusing on Kerrigan and a Zerg race. It spans 27 missions. The saga of StarCraft is ultimately completed with StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void, which was released on November 10, 2015. StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void is a standalone game in which new units are added to all 3 races as well as changing existing units, and also makes groundbreaking changes to the economy aspect of the game. The story of StarCraft is concluded by following the Protoss race in their quest to reclaim the home world and for Kerrigan to ultimately slay the greatest threat to the entire universe. The game is divided by a 3-mission prologue, a 19-mission main story campaign followed by a 3-mission epilogue wrapping up. At BlizzCon 2015 during the Future of StarCraft 2 presentation, it was revealed that Blizzard will release additional mission packs to keep players engaged with StarCraft 2. The first pack is called Nova Covertops, and will center around the character Nova. The mission pack will consist of 3 episodes, with a total of 9 new missions. It does not require the purchase of StarCraft 2, and can be played with the Starter Edition. The release date for the first episode is the 29th of March 2016. At the same time, Blizzard has announced that new commanders are planned to be added to the co-op mode in Legacy of the Void as a DLC, with Carrax to be the first edition given for free. Spin-off titles. The success of StarCraft has spurred the creation of 2 authorized add-on titles to StarCraft, as well as a deviation into genres other than real-time strategy. Insurrection was the first add-on pack released for StarCraft. Although developed and published by Aztec New Media, it is authorized by Blizzard Entertainment. It was released for the PC on July 31, 1998. The expansion's story focuses on a Confederate colony during the course of the first campaign of StarCraft. As in StarCraft, the player takes control of each race in 3 separate campaigns. In the first campaign, Terran colonists attempt to defend themselves from the Zerg invasion of the sector as well as from a rising insurgency. The second campaign has the player directing a Protoss task force sent to clear the Zerg infestation of the colony by any means necessary. In the final campaign, the player assumes the role of a Zerg Cerebrate, whose goal is to crush all opposition on the surface. The expansion contains 30 new campaign missions and over 100 new multiplayer maps, although it does not include new content such as units and graphical terrain tilesets. Insurrection was criticized by reviewers for lacking the quality of the original game, and it is not widely available. Although the add-on is authorized by Blizzard Entertainment, they offer no comment on support or availability of the game. Retribution is the second of the 2 authorized add-on packs released for StarCraft. The add-on was developed by Stardock and published by WizardWorks Software. It was released for the PC in late 1998. The game is set during the second campaign in StarCraft, revolving around the acquisition of a crystal of immense power connected to the Exil Naga. Divided into 3 campaigns, the player assumes the roles of a Protoss fleet executor, the commander of a Dominion task force, and his Zerg Cerebrate, all tasked with retrieving the crystal from a Dominion colony and getting it off the planet as quickly as possible. As with its predecessor, Retribution does not include any new gameplay features beyond its single-player campaigns and an abundance of multiplayer levels. The add-on was not well received by reviewers, and instead was regarded as average but at least challenging. Retribution is not widely available, and Blizzard Entertainment offers no comment regarding support of the availability of Retribution despite authorizing the add-on. StarCraft Ghost is a tactical stealth game for consoles developed under supervision of Blizzard Entertainment. Announced in 2002, the game was constantly delayed due to various issues, most notably including a change of development team from Nihilistic Software to Swing and Ape Studios in July 2004. As updates for the game became less frequent and the graphics and game mechanics more outdated, suspicion began to grow that Blizzard would cancel the game. On March 24, 2006, Blizzard indefinitely postponed the game's development. The story of the game is based around Nova, a psychic assassin in the employ of the Terran Dominion. Although frequently used as an example of development hell, Blizzard Entertainment's Rob Pardo has indicated that he would like the game to be completed in the future, and Blizzard Entertainment refuses to list the game as having been cancelled. On August 23, 2014, in an interview with Polygon about the cancellation of Blizzard's next-gen MMO titan, Chris Metzen confirmed that StarCraft Ghosts was also cancelled. "It was hard when we cancelled Warcraft Adventures. It was hard when we cancelled StarCraft Ghost," he said, "but it has always resulted in better quality work."